Right, I'm going to be talking about AI and customer data platforms. So I'll introduce the customer data platform. And I'll try to explain what a customer data platform is. It's very much a hot topic now in IT. Everybody's having their own CDP. So I'm going to talk about Microsoft CDP as under Dynamics. It's Microsoft's attempt at it. But there's a little secret about CDP, Customer Data Platform. You don't need to have Dynamics 365 to use it. So I'm going to explain the capabilities of Customer Insights, which is Microsoft's main application, with audience insights and engagement insights. But primarily, I'm going to be focusing on the built-in artificial intelligence included, and also how you can bring your own machine learning models to enrich your data. I think there's a session later on this evening. There's another session on Customer Insights. So I'm going to try and focus on the AI bits about it, because it's a huge topic. So a little bit about me. I'm Julian Sharp. I've been involved in Dynamics since it first came out. I've been trading in it for about 13, 14 years now. And I tend to create solutions which cover Power Platform, Dynamics, and Azure. I'm very much a fan of using AI, and I've been leveraging AI in Azure to create great solutions and user experience for my customers to improve how we do things for a long time now. I'm also a Business Apps MVP. On Dynamics, and I speak quite a lot. I'm currently writing a book on AI for Artificial Intelligence, the AI 900 exam prep, which I all recommend you go and take. It's a really good understanding. I believe everybody should learn about AI. AI is becoming more and more important in our apps. Microsoft is embedding AI into all our Dynamics apps and into the Power Platform. So if you don't get a handle on AI now, there's loads of people coming out of university who are AI aware. It's very much the fourth industrial revolution about using AI. So that little bit out of the way. I'm quite happy to take questions as we go along. Write in the chat, I'll monitor it. But here I'm just trying to give you an idea. What is the Customer Data Platform? We'll look at Customer Insights and Customer Voice. They're the two main products. I'm not going to go too much into Customer Voice because I think we had a session earlier on Customer Voice with Power Automate. I'm a big fan of that as well. So we'll look at the tools, but we're going to focus, as I say, on the AI capabilities. I'm going to try and demo, even though my demo environment is slightly broken. Okay, so I'm going to try and explain the capabilities of AI, what AI is provided within, and how you can bring your own AI to it if you want. So first of all, let's talk about Customer Data Platform. So Microsoft, if you go to dynamics.microsoft.com, go and have a look, you'll see Customer Data Platform under there, and it'll have two tools. There are two products as part of this: Customer Insights and Customer Voice. So Customer Insights is about collecting data together, collecting information about our customers from multiple different data sources. Traditionally, customer analytics is done by building homegrown systems. You typically, in lots of organizations, you have some sort of data warehouse pulling data from different systems. Then trying to manipulate it so we get a single customer view. Typically that's hard coded, lots of hacking around. They take a long time to implement. Different pieces of technologies for different things, different storage involved. Often things like KPI calculations being done on that data to create some sort of stats for you to analyze. But often, the other thing that happens is compliance is often typically an afterthought. I really love the question about HIPAA earlier. Compliance is a topic I hear so much when people talk about where's my data, who's got access to it, what do I mean about this? So yes, compliance is often in your homegrown solutions is often an afterthought. Customer Insights is a SaaS solution. You don't really configure it. You don't really customize it. You configure it. You do everything within its web portal. It's highly configurable and it is extensible. Actually, you can, if you want, from a dev viewpoint, there is an API for it as well. There's also a connector for it if you want to do Power Automate and Power Apps. I'm not going to go into that, but that is possible as well. It's compliant by design, and the insights it generates can easily be embedded in our other Dynamics 365 products, as well as loads of other products. Okay. It's a solution that can implement in a few weeks rather than months or years. Okay, it's it's a totally integrated platform for essentially bringing data together into one place, creating a single view of your customer. That's what customer insights is, primarily that. Customer voice is about running surveys, gathering feedback. Again, it's a separate SaaS solution, software as a service solution. You can use standalone or you can embed it within your other Dynamics products. Now, why have we got these? So I'm going to look at both of these products. Customer Insights more than the other. Customer Insights is actually made up of two products right now: Audience Insights and Engagement Insights, which is currently in preview. I'll discuss those a little bit later on, but we're mainly going to be looking at Audience Insights. So when you look at organizations today, most businesses have no clue who their customers are. Yeah, we'll come on to segmentation. Yeah, it's pretty. I'll talk about why that's important. So, customers don't know who their customers are. You can't have that single unified conversation. I did like Sagara's talk just now where we talk about creating that single omni-channel experience across multiple channels. But what we're really talking about here is not about the way we communicate, it's what we're communicating. The fact we've got a single view of their data. So I'm in customer service, I only see the customer service data. I don't see what interactions they've had on the e-commerce site or on the banking site or whatever. This is about creating a single view of the customer across multiple systems. And I'm not sure what you're asking about BC training. Do you mean Business Central, Deanne? This has got nothing to do with Business Central. This is a standalone application. Okay. And I've got some stats here. I love stats. 91% of consumers are more likely to shop with brands that they recognise. And I've been teaching marketing for a long time now. Before Dynamics 365 marketing, where we had Dynamics marketing, what was the old one? Dynamics marketing. The previous one, I used to teach that. And I really started labouring this with customers. People are very fickle now. They go to different places, but your brand is more important than ever for customers, for consumers, especially consumers. I think businesses now, we buy off brands we recognise, brands we trust, and we need to make sure we give them relevant offers and recommendations. So you're more likely to get your customer shopping with you if they recognise you and you give them the relevant offers and recommendations. Also, customers want you to approach them when they're ready. They need to understand that, okay, just because I bought off you, I've got one now. I've actually had a delivery from them today. I get 3 or 4 emails a week, 2 pieces of mailing a week from them, and it's just the wrong thing. They're actually putting me off because they don't understand how and when to approach me. They should be able to tell from what I buy when they should, but they're not very good. They just say, okay, you're buying a lot, therefore we're going to contact you more. And it's having a negative reaction. Yeah, well, customer service is all about your brand. Providing excellent service is about increasing your brand value. But brand marketing is a much bigger subject than I want to talk about here. But yes, making your brand is about presenting the right approach and presenting your brand values everywhere you touch the customer, whether that's through advertising, digital experiences, your purchasing experience, your returns experience, your customer service experience. So yes, it does. Brand is incredibly important. But also what's actually more important is when you're dealing with the customer at all places, you have the right information about that customer. You treat them correctly. So in customer service, it's about recognizing that the customers may be purchased from you a lot. And if you just treat them like every other customer, then that's doing your brand a disservice. And the expectations are getting higher. Customers now, I always say that customers are 57% along the buying cycle when they come to you. One of my favorite stats. And most companies fall down in this. They're not very good at understanding their relationships they have with the customer. And I would say if they're collecting my customer information, which they are, then at least they should use all that customer data to understand me before they interact with me. And 65% of customers are frustrated about this omni-channel experience again. Different channels, you contact via the web, you get a different experience over the phone or through customer service. And that's frustrating for customers. I have this, so you all probably have this. I go to the website and I get lots of irrelevant content. And if you don't get relevant content, personalized experience, this is why something like Adobe Marketing does a really good solution. You get a personalized experience if you go onto a website. If you've had one that treated you well. I mean, I'm getting quite upset with Netflix now, because Netflix used to be great for giving you a personalized experience, but right now it keeps offering me loads of things I'm not interested in. Their algorithms have gone wrong, or something's gone wrong with what they're doing. But yes, we're getting falling short of what's happening. And this is why organizations that are interested in customer data platforms, because customers aren't tolerating companies that forget about what they've done, forget about the experiences they previously had. And because we're in a digital world and internet world, customers can go just like that. They can disappear and go off to a different supplier. It's so easy to switch. And one of the customers I've been involved with who's doing this right now, they're very much focusing on customer churn rates. It's one of their biggest topics because it costs so much to acquire a customer, both in advertising and everything else. They don't want that customer leaving. They need to keep that customer. They want to keep that customer for a long period of time and get continued repeat purchases from them, because that's when they're going to make their money. And customers are more and more making purchase decisions around that experience more than anything else. The price is less relevant now. I actually got an advert today for beard products, and I looked at it and I thought, these beard products, they're really nice, but they're very expensive. But they're trying to sell a brand. They're not trying to sell, okay, here's the beard oil, beard shampoo for like $5. They're trying to sell a premium experience for $25 and trying to get me on a subscription model as well to buy more and more. It's actually, I came very close to buying because they do a very, very good job on that whole brand and experience and personalized, like creating personalized recommendations from me, asking questions. They actually ask questions about how often my beard and how it is, and lots of nice things. And they're creating an expectation. They're there to create me a personalized experience. I'm much more likely to buy from them than I am somebody else. But it's actually harder and harder to actually do this, to get that data together in one place, because we're getting more and more siloed data. Organizations are collecting more data all the time. And a lot of these data, this goes in different silos in different formats with different IDs, and make it harder to unify that data to create what we call that single customer profile. And I like to go and ask customers, I go into people and say, okay, can you create a single view of your customer? And some of them say yes. Okay, so how long would it actually take you? And they go, yeah, we could do it, but it'd be a huge effort. It's going to take us like weeks. So most organizations can't, even if they have got the data, they can't actually do it very quickly. It can't be made available. They lack the skills, they lack the tools to be able to do this, to be able to create this. And this directly impacts their organizations to better serve their customers. So Microsoft's vision for customer data platform is really to do insights differently, to try and take away all those pain points, to make it easy to combine your data from multiple different data sources, and then use AI to create the insights, rather than you have to do a lot of the work yourself. They want to use the power of the cloud and its hyperscale capabilities to process lots and lots of data and move it through your different scenarios. So this is Microsoft's customer data platform, all running on Azure, running in hyperscale, so we can process huge volumes of data very, very quickly. So to create a comprehensive single view of our customer, and actually then to enhance and enrich that data. So Michael used the word enrich, to enrich the customer profiles with information from other data sources. And I'll show you some of those as well. To create a personalized experience using AI to try and, let's say, what do I want the customer to see? It's really important that we create a customer bit of personalization, so customers can understand when we can then show that data in different systems, so all our users, when they deal with customers, can know how to relate to that customer. It's extensible. We have a few talks on extensibility. I love the talk on going back to CRM 1.2 and call outs. It took me back when I first used to do that, but extending the capabilities, leveraging the Power Platform with Power Apps and Power Automate. We have a connector which allows us to connect into customer insights data from our Power Apps and Power Automate. We've also got an API that we can use to interact with this. And it'll work with lots of different data sources, both on premise through the data gateway. It'll work with lots of cloud systems. It'll also work with a lot of telemetry-based systems. So again, if you're in an organization running IoT devices or maybe telemetry off your software, you can collect that stream data in as well. And we're basically leveraging the power of the cloud. You could not do this on premise. You just wouldn't have the CPU power, the data throughput to do this high volume, high AI powering on your systems. So that's enough of the marketing speak. Let's get a bit more into what it looks like. So customer voice, I'm not going to spend long on this, but I'm really going to focus on the AI that's embedded in customer voice. So customer voice is about creating surveys that you send to customers. It's tightly integrated with Dynamics marketing. But essentially what we do with customer voice is we send out surveys or feedback requests to customers. We distribute those through a number of different ways, say connecting through Dynamics marketing if we need to. I'll be doing that next week and the week after, one of my customers. Or through other methods of collecting that. We collect those responses. Now, this is where AI, the first bit we talked about AI, actually uses Azure Cognitive Services. Now, Azure Cognitive Services are a suite of pre-built AI or machine learning models in Azure. They're incredibly easy to use and very, very powerful. So we're going to use Azure Cognitive Services to look at things like sentiment of the text. So we're going to look at the wording that people use and gather their sentiment. We're going to look at some of the phrasing and pull out keywords and other things. And that's what we have within Customer Voice. It does a little bit of AI analysis on people's responses to tell us a little bit more about maybe trends or across different people, different groups of users, what they're saying. As well as getting your standard number responses like your how well do we do the customer satisfaction score between 1 and 5. We can analyze the text, we can analyze the sentiment to pull extra information out of it. And I use customer voice a lot myself, and I love the fact that we can get that basic analytics from it. So customer voice is our survey engine. The data is a collection of valuable information about what our customers think about us or about our organization. But it's just one part of the CDP. Most people, when they look at CDP, are really focusing on customer insights. So what is it? So customer insights is the main tool in customer data platform. It's a system that ingests data from multiple different data sources. Okay, we can pull from Dynamics. That's one of its main data sources, and it works really well with Dynamics Sales and Dynamics Customer Service and Dynamics Marketing. And it can pull data, but it can also pull data from a lot of other data sources, both on-premise and the cloud. And it really leverages Power Query. So if you've not looked at Power Query, it's a tool that you'll see in Power BI. It's actually in Dataverse as well. You can import data with Power Query. But it's a way Power Query allows me access to lots of different data sources. I can go pull data in, I can transform, I can cleanse it. There's also some native connectors as well. So Power Query can connect to lots of different things, lots of different data sources, but I've also got direct connectors into Dynamics and a few other data sources as well. It can also pull data from Azure Data Lake. So Azure Data Lake is, well, of course, it's a data lake. It's a way of storing large volumes of data for analytics purposes. And we're seeing data lake being used more and more in Azure as a way of storing data for analytics. So we can get the data from customer insights from Azure Data Lake. So if I've got other systems, I'm doing my own other systems, I can extract the data into Data Lake, and then customer insights can pull that data in. So it uses Power Query, uses Azure Data Lake, uses Dynamics as data sources. They can pull those data in from lots of different places. But the main process of what we go through is data unification, which is essentially mapping the table. So I'm going to pull my different data sources together. Now, if you've got multiple data sources, they've probably got different keys, different data types, and different ranges of values. And this is the hard thing. How do I map these together? So this table map this customers in this database map customers in this other database. What's my key? They like to have their own keys. How do I match that? And we have a whole different ways of mapping the entities to different data types. So I can say, okay, this is an ID field, this is an email field, this is a telephone number, this is a name. So we go through, we classify all the tables, all the columns in the tables. Interestingly, they're still using the word entity in here rather than table. So if you're a database person, we still use entities here because we're talking entities in general rather than database tables, because this data could come from lots of different places. We then go a process of matching. So we try and match the records together. So we set different rules up to match the data. So how do I match one customer in one system with another customer in another system? We have a lot of different rules. So I can match on maybe email address or maybe first name and last name. And is anybody here from Denmark? Denmark's a nightmare for trying to match on names because there are so many Hans Peter Christiansens. There's thousands of them in Denmark. How do I match the names? And then again, even in the UK, we have issues where people swap their first and last names around depending on how you speak to them. How do I match those? It handles all of that sort of thing, processing. How do I match? It matches intelligently. It uses AI in here to try and match the data. It gives us different rules to do that. And then we merge the data to create a single customer profile. So that's the process. The mapping, matching, and merging is our data unification, where we just go through and create that single customer profile. Once we've got a single customer profile record, it contains data from all the different data sources. So I can look into different things, different properties. And typically the data's in two sorts. There's profile data, like who the person is, what their job title is, their telephone number, maybe from different sorts of date of birth, that sort of thing. But then we've also got other activities. So what phone calls they're made, what purchases they're made, what websites they've visited. So we actually get to see a single timeline of all their interactions across all the different services. So we go and set up activities in here. And then we can enrich the data. Microsoft has some third-party services we can enrich data with. So you can say, okay, bring in different information. We've also got third-party services like Experian and Here and some other ones where you can enrich that customer data. I know I've used something in the past myself where we were asked to give a profile of who are our customers by age and socioeconomic category, and we didn't hold that data. What we had is we had the customer and their postcode. And there's some really useful information in the UK called Acorn data, which essentially gives you your socio-economic breakdown by postcode area. So I can say for this postcode area, right down to like the lowest level digit, what's the average age? What's the average? Are they A1, B1, C, D, E socioeconomic classes? And I use that to do that reporting. But that was a lot of work. I'm talking about 5-6 years ago I did this. I had to go gather that data, process it, merge it. I could actually do that. I could actually load that Acorn data in and use that to enrich my data to essentially say, okay, this customer's likely to have an income of so much, be of a socioeconomic class, I'd like to have this sort of age. So Microsoft has actually made that easier by just allowing us to bring in Experian data. You do need an Experian account for that. But the ability to enrich data, find more things about them by enriching it. And then what we can do is we can create measures, KPIs. So like what's their average sale? How much do they buy per year? Loads and loads of information that we can gather and then display. So we create measures or KPIs. And then to answer your question, Lisa, we can create segments of that data. We can create highly targeted segments based on all that profile data. And I can then export that segment into Dynamics Marketing. So I can create segments using data that isn't in marketing. And so I can create highly targeted segments for my marketing efforts and kick off my marketing campaigns from that. And that's a nice, so we can export. So we have the export. So one of the ways of export, where we can export our segment data to Dynamics Sales using marketing lists, for Dynamics Marketing for using segments. We can even export it out to a load of other tools like MailChimp if we want to. We want to do our own marketing. Okay, so it's a really powerful process, but I'm going to get onto the AI in a minute. I'll just bring it all up. So typically what we have a problem. We've got a lot of things we want to be able to do with our engaging our customers. We want to engage our customers over multiple channels like web and mobile, in person, etc. And we have different systems we're going to be using Dynamics. We're going to be using apps. We're using lots of party systems. And yet we've got all this data. We've got internal data and external data coming through. This is what Customer Insights does. It goes and connects and brings that data. We ingest the data. We map, match, and merge it. We enrich it. And then we, well, I'm not sure what conflate means on that. We then build some more data. We do more things. And then it becomes available to be used inside our tools, inside our other applications. And one of the things we can do is apply AI and ML. I'm going to talk about that now. Get analytics on our data and AI, machine learning on it. And what we end up with is something like this. You end up for each customer a single card. So we call this the customer card. It's the customer profile. We've got information about them. We've got their interests. We've got some insights it's generated. So the insights over here are on the left. Sorry, get the pointer up. Over here on the left, that's AI generated. So it's telling me key information about them. With Katie, we've got some KPIs we've generated. So we've got some measures. We can show how much they're spending per month. We've got a customer engagement score, some sort of KPI. How engaged are they with us? We've got things like the customer lifetime value and churn risk. These are going to come back to both of these. What's my risk of churn? For a lot of organizations, this is one of the key things. What's my likelihood they're going to leave us? And also, what's my lifetime value going to be? Customer lifetime value. How much are they going to sell? This is prediction value. How much they're going to buy over time, where they fit into that. As well as that, we've got all our timelines. So we see all our activities. So I can see Patty's made 5 purchases. She's used the app 17 times. So for instance, we built an app, our own mobile app for our company, allowed customers to download it. We can collect the telemetry from that. That can be fed in here. It's just like an IoT device. They made 7 social media posts on Twitter, say, or something else. We've gathered that in, and we've got 19 emails from them. We see what's actually going on. We can see that overall picture from them. And what we can do is we can expose this data inside Dynamics. Actually, you used to have to go to AppSource for this, but I think it's now available from the Power Platform Admin Center. You can go install the Customer Insights card add-in, and then it's a control you can add onto the contact and account forms. So it's an add-in card. You can just go in. It's just a control you can add in. You link it up to Customer Insights, and then it just goes and displays the data. Well, it doesn't copy the data into sales or customer service. You can actually have it in customer service as well. It doesn't copy the data. It surfaces the data from Customer Insights. Allows you to see all that really useful information that we have there. It's quite easy to set up when it works. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually just going to go quickly to a demo, then come back to the AI. So let's go and just have a look at what I've talked about so far. So this is Customer Insights. You go in, and what I've got in here is I've got a dashboard which tells me a few things about what I've got. I've got 5,200 unique customers up here. Let's make this a bit bigger when it works. Yeah, I've managed to break mine this morning, so I'm not going to be able to show you everything. Okay. And I'm just going to go down and just show you where we've got. So I've got some data sources here. So I've got a number of different data sources. I've got my dynamic system as one. I can click in that. I can go edit this and have a look. And it's going to show me an connector. Notice it still says common data service. I haven't changed it to Dataverse. And I've selected which tables I want to use. So I've selected the different tables. It's pulled that data out of here, and I've got a trial. So I've got a lot of tables. I've pulled things like cases. I pulled sales information, other bits of information over into my system. I'm just going to cancel that. I don't want to rerun. And then I've got some other sources. And to add a new data source, it's just like this. I click on Add Data Source. I can import data. And this is going to launch Power Query. So I say demo. PQ. So next, and it's going to launch me Power Query, and this just gives me access to all these different data sources. See, pull data from iSQL Server, from SharePoint, from Excel files, from Access. I can connect to, because it's using Power Query, I can connect using the on-premise data gateway to connect to data places. And I can get to APIs and even just CSV files. Parquet, if you don't know, is a typical one used in machine learning for high data volumes. And I can just go and get any data I want, files, that sort of thing. I'm going to cancel that. I also got other things, so common data model folder. That's an Azure data lake. This is what I say if we're going to be using CDM folders. So common data model isn't just a Dynamics Dataverse thing. It's actually being used across the whole of Azure. It's a way of storing your data structures, or connect to my Dynamics, or we can have a data hub as well. And this, you see, if I do this, I get some other data sources. I've got some sample data sets. And Microsoft makes them available, demo data. Actually, when you actually go into customer insights, you can actually start, you can pick one of these to start your, I picked the hospitality demo. So I'm using the hospitality demo data. The trouble with that is I can't do any of the other things. It's quite, when you do the demos, it's pretty locked down. So I've done my own, created my own environment. You can just go and say, I want to create a new environment. And it just creates another environment. So I've got one called mine, I'll just call it trial because it is a trial. So you can pull your data in. Okay, once you've got your data in, we then go and look at our data, our entities. Okay, why do you go leave page? Yeah, go to look at the entities I brought in. So here's the different entities we have. Here's my different places. It's come through where I got it from. And so you've got my Dynamics data and some other data. And we go through this unified process where essentially we go through, it's an interface where I have to go through each table, which tables do I want to bring in. Okay, which tables? I've got my contact table, which is from Dynamics, and then I've got a couple from my e-commerce site and a loyalty scheme. And basically what I do is I just classify all the fields as to what information they are, whether they're date of birth or an email address. I think that might not be, I think that might be something else. Just classify them. This is where you need to know your data well. But people who do this sort of job, they know their data. And oops, I didn't mean to do that. So you classify your data. Oh, that's a gender field, that's an image field, that sort of thing. Postal code address fields. Okay, so you classify your data. And then what we do is we put our merge rules in. So merging is, okay, how do I match records? And I basically specify some rules for this. Let's go edit this rule. So how is it matched? So I said, okay, we're going to match on full name. And I've told it to do a precision as pretty low. And I can actually see what that actually does. It gives me lots of nice stats all the way. Yes, it connects directly to Dataverse. And yes, it's going to hit your API throttling limit. But you can specify how often it synchronizes the data. Yeah, everything's going to get is because it's going through the API. You can't avoid it. There's other ways you can get around it. There's one way you can get around it, which is to export your data out using the export to data lake. This is how I actually do it. In Dataverse, you can export your data to an Azure data lake. And then what I can do is I can point customer insights to that data lake to pull that data in. So actually, I'm reducing the amount of, effectively, I allow Dataverse to control when that data gets copied out. Whereas if I do the direct connection, it's going to be here. You can do it daily, weekly, monthly scheduling. It's customer insights that chooses. So it gives you some nice information and stats on here, the number of matched records, and shows you how it's matched, and shows you some examples. It shows you here that it's managed to spot that Bartos Cassandra and Cassandra Bartos are the same people. It's the first and last name swapped around. Also some other names like maybe Benty Gumon, Elizabeth Gumon, maybe that might not be good. That I've got it really set to a low matching score. You can precision. I've got it set to low, and you can go, okay, you can change how it wants. You can try things out. So I said either match on full name or match on email. And then there's lots of other properties around it, how it works and how it matches those. And then you run it, and you just click on here and just run it. It runs away in the background, processing all this data, and it says, okay, I've got 10,000 records, uniquely matched and non-matched and matched records. So it's matched about half of them exactly. So I can see those records. And I can also tell it to G-Dupe. I can set some G-duplication rules as well. Then we've got this enrichment, where we go and add in. So this is where I can say, enrich my data. Here's how I can bring in my demographic data from Experian. Or you can bring in your own data, just upload into an FTP site. So you put probably a little CSV file. I could get that Acorn data, for instance, put an FTP site and upload it. And that's it, enrich my data. Now, most of this enrich my data is very US. I think it's very US centric. I'm not sure what it will do if I do it in the UK. I haven't really looked at any of this, but this is the idea, enriching your data in the system. Okay, so we go through that process and we end up with this customer profile. So here we've got a number of people. I can click on, say, Laura. I was pick one at random. We can see information. We can see how it's got. We can see the different IDs. I've deliberately told it to show the IDs. You can hide these. So I want to show. So okay, what their loyalty to here. So I'm going to look at what their occupation, customer satisfaction. This is the information for me that's really important. And I want to start segmenting that data. Okay, I'll answer that question in a minute, Nicola. Okay, so I want to move on now to how we go and add intelligence. So I've basically got actually we'll talk about segments. So what we can now do is I can create segments. So I can go create a new segment. I've created a copy here. Let's create new, and I can create from maybe my profile data or maybe I've created a couple of measures as well. So I've created a couple of things. Let me just show measures first. So measure KPIs. I can do a new measure from a template, and it's got some standard templates. So how do I calculate let's do transaction count, total transactions over a period of what have I got all the time? Let me just go what I've got. Average purchase value. Let's just do a new one from a template. Allows you to create some KPIs. Typical ones we're interested in is what's their average yearly revenue from that customer. And you'll see here, it tells you actually how it works. It shows you the function. We just go through and I go through and select my data. So what's my transaction data? I pick my different I've got sales orders. Hit next. I've already done a lot of it. Then I just have to say, what's the money field? I don't know. I've got that. Actually, I haven't got the money field there, so I can't do that one. But you see, go through, you create your KPIs, you create your measured KPIs, and then I go and create my segments, and I can create my segments from those KPIs, or I can create from my profile data. And again, I've got a little thing. How do I want to? Let's put segment on maybe what's loyalty tier. And it shows me the loyalty tier. Okay, I want to focus on maybe the medium tier. Okay, everybody's in medium tier, and it's going to give it a name. So I'm just going to give that a name. So medium loyalty. Okay, and save that. And that's now a segment, and I can now use that in my other systems. And it's going to go generate that. It'll run in the background. Eventually, it'll queue up and it'll go through and do it, and I'll get a number of people in there. So creating segments, quite straightforward. And then I can go look at my customer records. So let's go back now and talk about AI. But before I do that, let's answer your question, Nikolai. Regarding using customers' data for profile, well, you've got to get consent. And this is where getting consent, especially with GDPR, is interesting. Well, you're allowed to capture customers' transaction information. And all we're doing a lot of the times is analysing that customer transaction. If people give us information, we're going to target them. I think GDPR is people are often scared about GDPR more than they should be. It really it's going to apply to really large organisations.
A bright shining city on a hill where there won't be any financial problems.
So
but
where we get to that from? Thanks. I think it's interesting in terms of if we're dealing with business to consumers, it's different from business to business. But if you're the sort of organisation you're going to use this, especially business to consumer, you're going to be talking retail organisations, healthcare, where they're actually collecting a lot of customer information already, which you're allowed to profile. Then you just need to make sure you get the right level of consent, which Dynamics Marketing handles. It handles the double opt-ins, it handles the consent levels. So you can start using that information you've collected there, so know what people have allowed you to do. Right, let's look at AI options, which I really want to spend the last 15 minutes talking about. So what we can do in AI, once I've got my customer profile, I can start doing a number of different things with it. I can create some predictions. There are some inbuilt AI models. There are 3 of them actually. Well, 4. There's customer churn. We've got 2 types of churn. We've got subscription churn and transactional churn. These are pretty standard industry measures of how we calculate the churn. And what we do is we're using AI to create a better churn model. Microsoft actually has built an AI machine learning model to calculate these. The way they're built, they've used loads of data to create a model. So the idea is they're trying to get these models to work very much on any sort of data, because you can't typically you build a model from one set of data, you then get another set of data, you then got to build a different model. What Microsoft done, they built a model that in customer insights, it'll try different things with it. So it isn't just a fixed model, it'll adapt to the data you give it. So churn is about the likelihood of a customer staying or leaving. Really important score. I've actually got one customer. They have 17, they're doing this right now. They have 17 different data sources they use to calculate customer churn, which is a huge job. It's cost them a lot of money. It's developed over years. Customer Insights is going to do this for them, and it's going to give it to them quicker, easier, and cheaper. Well, the trouble is, we're actually trying to identify customers here for GDP. So, yeah, we are identifying customers. We want to target them. Customer lifetime value is another classic measure how we should value our customer over the lifetime. And the fourth model we have is product recommendations, which is to recommend products based off their previous purchases or based off their similarities. If you've ever been on Amazon, you get products recommended to you. If you go to Netflix, which is broken right now, it recommends videos for you to watch based on what you've watched, what similar other people have watched. And that's what it is. It's called a recommender model. It's a classic machine learning. And we can go build these. I can go to my predictions and go, if I want to go and create a new model, it's as simple as they're here. I've got some models. And these are the first three that we've got. They're all still in preview. In fact, product recommendation just been come. So all I do is I want to create a model. Customer churn. I want to predict what my customer is going to build. Okay, we're going to build it based on their subscription or let's do their transactional purchase. It tells me what data I need, and it's just a wizard. So I can build this. So I'm going to say churn. I'll do this. I get to specify. Okay, identify customers are going to churn in the next 30 days. Customers churn if they made no purchases in, say, 90 days. Okay, next, I'm going to go, what data do I need now? It's data I've already uploaded. I'm going to upload, see, I've got all my data here. I'm going to look at my post purchases. And then I just have to pick the fields because I've identified the type of field. What's the transaction ID? What's its unique ID? So the purchase ID, the date it was purchased on, product ID was, okay, next. And then I have to say, okay, how are we matching it? So how am I matching it to the contact? So I've got a contact ID on here, I think. Purchase ID, we need to match it to my customer entity. Is it? I don't think I can match that one, but looks like I haven't got the relationship set up right to get that. Maybe let's pick the loyalty ID and match it. Let's give it a name. And it's going to, you see how easy it is. It's going to build it. I'll just go add any updater. Okay, it's got some error on there. But essentially, I'll just go through that. Oh, it's British history. Why is it like that? Okay, it's incomplete. Just let me edit that. For some reason, it didn't like it. So, but essentially, you just go through, click it all out, and you go get, this is what's broken on mine. It goes and builds your prediction. So right now, all of mine have failed. I even built another one. But I can go in here and it goes and builds. I can go review the model and see. I can't view it right now, but you can go see the model, see what the data is coming out of it. And then I can build segments from it. I can go to here and build segments from those predictions. So I can create a segment, all the people who are likely to churn in the next 30 days. I can then target them with offers. And that's the sort of thing I can do really easily. The sort of thing can be, even the company I had, say, like 17 data sources, they just want to calculate a churn percentage. They then do that. Then they've got to manually do stuff to actually target those customers. I can actually essentially create a marketing segment in Dynamics Marketing. I go to my exports here. I've actually got it set up. Just got to add an next one. I want to connect to my Dynamics. I've got it already set up. I can actually go pull out my data. What's my contact ID? Customer ID field. Pick my contact ID field. Where are you? Let's pick it's that one. This customer ID. Then say which segments I want to pull over, and it's going to go away, pass that segment over. All the segments, they're going to get populated in Dynamics marketing for me automatically. It's as simple as that. And that's going to get sync away. So I've built some segments. I've pumping them out to Dynamics. I can add other exports. I've got to put it out to sales as well. And if I look at the different exports I've got, all my different connections, you'll see that we've got a number of different ones. We saw the enrichments, but you see all the exports. It's not just to Microsoft. I can export to .digital if anybody knows that. I've used them in the past. MailChimp, Facebook Ads Manager. We've got LinkedIn as well. LinkedIn for ads automation and LinkedIn Campaign Manager, even marketing MailChimp, but even Google Ads for targeting, as well as sending stuff out to SendGrid, and even Snapchat, and customer service, sales, and even Teams and Power BI. So I've got a huge way of displaying this data. Right, what else can I do from AI perspective? So I've talked about the churn, lifetime value, and product recommendation. That's what everybody thinks. You can also bring in your own model. So in here, if I built a model inside Azure Machine Learning, I can just add it in here. Now, right now, mine, because this is in a new tenant, I haven't got an Azure subscription associated with it. I haven't got it, but I've done this in the past where I've built a machine learning model. And you actually don't need some machine learning models. You don't need to write code. You can create quite simple models, your own. Some of the sample machine learnings are things like your own customer lifetime value or your own churn ones. They're standard models you can build. And I just pick it in here, and then I can just use it. It'll just get used in here. So it's very easy to make your own models and enhance them. So we talk about bring your own model in here. Other things I can do with AI, I can go to segments. So look on segments. What I can do is click on, it says suggestions. This is AI powered. And what it does is you say, okay, I want to do some suggestions for here. And what I did is I clicked on find new suggestions. I did this earlier. It does take a few minutes to run through. So what do I want? Let's anticipate customer behavior. I say, okay, what do I want to look at? Again, it's just a wizard. I go through it and I pick which data I want to look at. So I maybe look at subscription data, and I choose that information. And what it does is it looks at that data and then gives me the best segments. It suggests some segments for me. So what it's done here, it suggested some segments here that are based on my, so let's have a look at this one, see this suggestion. It's got 64 members. It's highly targeted on some transactions. And I think it says here, it's based on their activity. They've got high activity, but they've got low number of suggestions. It's basically done this low monetary value. So I think this says high regions and low monetary value. So what I can do is I can quickly just create a segment from this. So I don't need to think as a user. I can go create this segment from here. The AI is generating this for me. And I've now got that segment being created. It'll be there. It'll be added in. It's going to get, it's being refreshed right now. It'll have it's 64 people in a few minutes. Okay, so I can do the suggestions. I can do, so this is AI powered suggestions. So both on activities and on profile data. And I did it earlier. I ran it earlier and I found some interesting ones. It said, okay, some difference based on loyalty tier. I've got loyalty tier versus income. It suggested there's some matches there. 95% of customers have this loyalty tier or this idea, and it's only different values. And I can just go create segments from that. I can then go even further. This is something I really like. The ability to do a differentiation. What's the difference between this segment and this other segment? And I ran this one earlier. What it's showing me is, okay, the biggest differentiator on here is income. Now, this is something that's really hard to spot. It's trying to show me information about the data I don't know. It says, okay, I've got an income variation. I can click on this, see that income variation. And it's showing me my between my two different segments. I've called them low income, medium loyalty versus low loyalty, high income. What's the biggest differentiator? It's income, because, well, I've done it on income, so low, medium, so that wasn't surprising. But also, I look at here, actually, by city. There's a lot of variation on there, maybe by reward points, okay, or maybe, actually, the interesting one's on occupation. Now, this data is a bit too perfect. So, but here we see I've got definite difference issue with teachers here. So I might say, okay, I want to do something about this. I can drill down. I can go maybe create a new segment based off this information. So it's really how you get really highly targeted, understanding who my customers are. And again, this is AI powered within here. A lot of it's still stamped with all this AI stuff is all stamped with the preview, but it works when it does. So we have that. There's one more thing which we can do, and that's using AI Builder. Now, one of the common problems you have with data is you get missing values. So let me go and show you where AI Builder can help us. I'm going to go back into my entities here, go and look at, say, my customer data. So here's my customer profile data, and I can go in here and I can analyze the data. I can click in here and say, okay, let's look at credit card. What's the sample data? I can see here, I've got unique values. It's either yes or no, have they got a credit card? And I've got 186 missing, about 3%. Now, what's missing here? There should be a button here, right where my mouse is. It should say predict values. What that does is it uses AI's Builder's prediction model to go fill in the missing values. Now, it's because it's not working on mine because I'm in a trial. Well, I can actually say, okay, what loyalty tier? Again, I can look here. What is it? Fill in those missing values. I can use AI to do that for me. It'll use the data that's there, just launch it, and it makes it seamless. I just click a few buttons, and it builds an AI model that runs and then supplements my data. So we've got AI Builder in here to help fill in those missing values, to predict missing values. As I said, yeah, we can bring in our own custom models as well if we want. And I've put a link in here about if you want to learn it. I actually put some links in earlier on with where you can find out about this, the learning modules, but also Microsoft Docs, where they've actually got some step-by-step walkthroughs that you can do, including links to some of this data that I've used. So we tend to use this same data. I've got this loyalty data, this website. So look at the data sources. You get the e-commerce, which is just e-commerce sales. Some of this other data is all that. I've just pulled it through, plus some added some more in. It's actually when I added Dynamics in, it broke everything yesterday, and I don't know why. So that's what we've got. Hopefully we've got a few minutes left if we've got any questions. I'm going to now sell. You get 35% off books with the promo code Dynamics 35. I don't know if it works on my book. I don't know if you know. I've written the PL200 exam guide for PACT. So hopefully the 35% guide, 30% promo code will work on that one as well. If not, I've actually reviewed the project operations book, and I'm currently reading Wally's really good book on customer voice. That's really relevant now. If you don't know, Lee is the product manager for customer voice. Really good guy. It's really readable. If you want to know how to really make use of customer voice, that's the book for you. It's really well written, a really nice read. Okay, so hopefully I've shown you what customer insights is, give you an idea. But I want to really make you think about it. It's not just it doesn't just end with the unified data create customer profile. We can really start making use of AI to enhance and enrich our data, to actually tell us more things about our data and to be more targeted. So anybody got any questions? Right, okay, there's always going to be one. Yeah, can we fine tune the parameters? No. It's very much the models that we saw here so if I go into my prediction model, so I know what you're talking about. If you build machine learning models, we talk about hyperparameters and tuning them. When I go and create these, we're just going to use these models as they're built. But if you want to do your own, you just go to Azure Machine Learning, create your own model, and then you can tune it to how you like. And then you can just import it in, as I say. It's very easy. Yeah, you build it in Azure Machine. You build your model in Machine Learning Studio, whether you're using whatever. We're using Machine Learning Designer or AutoML, or if you're using Python, yeah, you just bring it in, and then you just pick you just have to do your predictive web service, whether you do it in containers or AKS, and then it's available here. And it makes it really easy to do this. I don't know if you know, that's also coming to AI Builder. AI Builder going to be able to bring in actual machine learning models as well. I actually did a talk on that at the Developer Bootcamp, which we did a couple of weeks ago. Deployment options. Oh, okay. I don't know. This is like Dynamics marketing. It's not really, for me, it's to be very hard to pull it out. I don't think it's going to be quicker just to build it each time for you, because you're not going to have this on your dev system. There's not going to be very little value for it because you're not going to have much data on your dev system. You're not going to be pulling data in. It's very much, for me, it's like marketing. You generally use it in your prod system. It doesn't integrate. It integrates in with your dynamic systems rather than it's very much a standalone system. So it doesn't have its own ALM, as far as I'm aware. The only thing you've really got in here is adding users in. So I'm not sure about project methodology. There isn't a project methodology for this. This is very much a tool for this isn't a tool for your average consultant. This is a tool for your data person, your person in marketing who's manipulating lots of data. They don't configure stuff. They get data, they manipulate data and get the data out and analyze it. So I think it's a very different application of dynamic sales or Power Platform. You can leverage this data in your systems. The only thing you're doing here is add your users in. So I can add different people with different roles to use this. The licensing is very different as well. It's licensed on a per tenant basis. Or is it on per environment? I can't remember. Definitely per tenant. Okay, you're not going to have multiple environments for this. Yeah, you might, I can't. To be honest, I would, even if you had a pre-prod, you're not really configuring anything, and I'm not really sure what you would do. Yeah. This is, for me, this is, it's not really, I don't think Microsoft envisages this having an ALM process. I've got the reports as well, which I haven't seen yet. Okay. Do you have a view on the license? I think it's very cheap for what it is. You can go to dynamics.microsoft.com and find the pricing. In fact, actually, I might have the Dynamics licensing guide. I downloaded it the other day. Got the latest one, Dynamics licensing guide. What we got? Oh God, where is it? Pretty customer insights. That's the edition. I don't know. Yeah, it's got okay. It includes customer voice, actually. It's interesting. It does include customer voice insights. Okay, included capacity. So it's a capacity issue as well. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's so much per month. Yeah, the pricing, you've probably got that there. Yeah, let's pull that up. It is definitely, yeah, it's that. It's a per tenant per month, including it's, and then you pay for the number of profiles. It is per tenant, which I suspect, because it's per tenant, I think you're only getting one environment per tenant. So all this discussion about ALM is, yeah. Oh, you get one production, one sandbox. Actually, it does say there, one production, one sandbox it only. So you can play around with it. But there's no way I know of moving stuff between the environments. Tenant, the tenant is your Microsoft 365, your whole, yeah, Azure tenant, Microsoft 365 tenant, yes. Yeah. So Azure tenants and Microsoft 365 and Dynamics and Power Platform all are on the same Azure tenant. Okay, I think we've run out of time. So if you have any more questions, you can ask in the chat, I'll answer them. But we'll move on to the next session. Raz.
Thank you very much, Julian. Excellent. So moving over to the next session, conveniently is on segments, marketing's Dynamics 365 marketing segmentation. It's Roger. So Naraja, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hello, Raj.
Oh, hello there, Naraj. So Raj, yeah, if without further